story is called Giraffes Can't Dance. Whilst I'm reading this story, I want you to think about who, where, and what. Listen to the words of the story and look at the pictures to help you work out who the main character in the story is, where the story takes place, and what the story is all about. Let's have a closer look at the cover of Giraffes Can't Dance. I can see the author's name and the illustrator's name. I see a giraffe with a very twisty, bendy body. We can guess from the title that this story is about a giraffe who can't dance. But let's read the blurb to see if we can find out a bit more. Gerald was a tall giraffe whose neck was long and slim, but his knees were awfully bandy and his legs were rather thin. Gerald would love to join in with the other animals at the jungle dance, but everyone knows that giraffes can't dance. Or can they? So this story is about a giraffe called Gerald who wants to dance with the other animals, but he can't. I wonder, will he learn how to dance in the story? Let's read on to find out. Gerald was a tall giraffe whose neck was long and slim, but his knees were awfully crooked and his legs were rather thin. He was very good at standing still and munching shoots off trees, but when he tried to run around, he buckled at the knees. Now every year in Africa, they hold the jungle dance, where every single animal turns up to skip and prance. And this year when the day arrived, poor Gerald felt so sad because when it came to dancing, he was really very bad. The warthogs started waltzing and the rhinos rock and rolled. The lions danced a tango that was elegant and bold. The chimps all did a cha-cha with a very Latin feel, and 8 baboons then teamed up for a splendid Scottish reel. Gerald swallowed bravely as he walked towards the floor, but the lions saw him coming and they soon began to roar. "Hey, look at clumsy Gerald!" the animals all sneered. "Giraffes can't dance, you silly fool! Oh, Gerald, you're so weird!" Gerald simply froze up. He was rooted to the spot. "They're right," he thought. "I'm useless. Oh, I feel like such a clot." So he crept off from the dance floor and he started walking home. He'd never felt so sad before, so sad and so alone. Then he found a little clearing and he looked up at the sky. "The moon can be so beautiful," he whispered with a sigh. "Excuse me," coughed a cricket who'd seen Gerald earlier on. "But sometimes when you're different, you just need a different song." Listen to the swaying grass and listen to the trees. To me the sweetest music is these branches in the breeze. So imagine that the lovely moon is playing just for you. Everything makes music if you really want it to. With that, the cricket smiled and picked up his violin. Then Gerald felt his body do the most amazing thing. His hooves had started shuffling, making circles on the ground. His neck was swaying gently and his tail was swishing round. He threw his legs out sideways and he swung them everywhere. Then he did a backward somersault and leapt up in the air. Gerald felt so wonderful. His mouth was open wide. "I am dancing! Yes, I'm dancing! I am dancing!" Gerald cried. Then, one by one, each animal who'd been there at the dance arrived while Gerald boogied on and watched him quite entranced. They shouted, "It's a miracle! We must be in a dream! Gerald's the best dancer that we've ever seen!" "How did you learn to dance like that? Please, Gerald, tell us how." But Gerald simply twirled around and finished with a bow. Then he raised his head and looked up at the moon and stars above. "We all can dance," he said, "when we find music that we love." The end. At the start of the video, I asked you to think about who, where, and what. Remember, I wanted you to listen to the words of the story and look at the pictures to help you work out who the character was in the story, where the story took place, and what the story was all about. So let's start with who. Who was the main character in this story? Yes, it was Gerald the giraffe. What about where? Where did the story take place? Well, there were 2 clues in the words. Did you hear them? The clues were Africa and jungle. So we know that the story takes place in the jungle in Africa. And what was the story about? I bet you worked that one out pretty easily. It was about a dancing giraffe. Gerald looked different to the other animals. His neck was really long, his legs were really long, and he wasn't able to dance at all. All the animals laughed when Gerald first tried to dance. How do you think Gerald felt? Is it nice when someone laughs at you? No, it's not nice. Does it matter if someone is different? Have a think. No, it doesn't matter one bit. In fact, we're all different from each other. It's what makes each and every one of us special and unique.